So you little wazzick, how have you been? It's been a couple of weeks since we recorded last.
It has been a couple of weeks. My throat's a little bit hoarse today. I'm a little sore today. Last night, my husband and I decided to do living room karaoke.
Oh.
Yes. So that translates to we got drunk, listened to really loud music, and sang really loud and off key in my piece. So off key that Zool went to the basement.
That's amazing. What were some of the hits that you tried out?
We decided it was quite a melange, sir, of musical preferences and genres. Some of the big takeaways. The one that hurt my throat the most is a Foreigner song called Jukebox Hero. It's a rock classic. It was quite an eclectic mix. Everything from Simon and Garfunkel to Disturbed, and all manner of shenanigans in between.
So there's even screaming in there.
That's
yeah. Did the neighbors come around, check that you weren't getting murdered?
No. They were up to their own shenanigans, I bet. Yeah. Someone started doing like fireworks at around 10, so then the party was over because the dogs ran to the basement and got scared. And it wasn't my singing that time, it was the neighbors.
For once. No, we've been having some twat locally has been burning rubbish illegally. And they seem to do it every couple of days. And it's always on a nice sunny day and you want to go sit in your garden. And the next thing you know, your eyes are stinging and there's like a mist everywhere.
That's shitty. Can't you call somebody to complain? Can you Karen this out?
Yeah, but there's some dodgy people around where I live, so it might not be. You might not want to rock that boat.
So that's fair. So that just kind of reminded me of something. So I've started recently cross-posting when there was like that whole thing that Twitter or TikTok may go away in the US. I started cross-posting to Instagram and YouTube. The comment sections on all three platforms are something else. Even Gozers, all about it. So I posted one about how I gave somebody a disapproving head shake. And like in the comment of that video, I said, the reason that I did that was because they had their dogs off leash in a leash mandated area. People on TikTok were like, yeah, absolutely. You should have given them the head shake. They should have they deserved it. That was the overwhelming theme on TikTok was they deserved it.
Yeah.
And then over on YouTube, I was called a Karen thrice. Wow. And we really need to define what a Karen is. Like Karen is a woman who's making a big deal over nothing.
Yeah.
People having their dogs leash free in a leash mandated area where there are other dogs and children. That's a warranted disapproving head shake, especially when literally not even, I was going to say across the street. It's not even across the street. There's one road that leads into a parking lot, and across that road is a leash-free dog park that was empty at the time.
Jesus.
But I got called a Karen.
But I thought Karens have to actually interfere. So you're going to have to call the police. You're going to have to call the local dog pound. You're going to have to stand there and shout at the guy. Insert
yourself into something that's none of your business, and it doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form. But like, we need to establish some hard and fast rules.
Yeah. It needs to be academically defined and tested. That this is
I shall go out about town and cause a scene and see at what level of escalation do people start calling me Karen.
Yeah.
So I found the new subreddit. It's called Incel Exit.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's self-proclaimed incels who are trying to break free from that world. Some of them got girlfriends, so they were like, I'm out, bitches. Others are realizing that the whole red pill, black pill, Andrew Tate, all those guys were affecting their mental health and affecting their relationships with not only just women out on the street, but like their own family members. So they started to get out, which is fantastic because the community is very supportive of helping these men get into a better place. What surprised me a lot was the age of them.
Okay.
They were 19 to 23 years of age, and they were already calling themselves incel. And like, that's fresh out of high school. That's college years when nobody's getting laid at that time. Like, there are more people not getting laid than getting laid. If you've seen the movie American Pie, you know. every teenager's whole plan is to get it, but that they're so young and starting to ascribe themselves to that is just, it was surprising me. Like, I figured they would have been men in their like 30s or 40s
Oh, no.
or a little bit older who had tried, who put themselves out there and kept getting rejected. And then they just started developing this anger. But they're guys who never even tried. Like, they're 20.
Yeah.
Very
It's
few people
depressing.
get laid when they're 20.
Yeah. Oh, speak for yourself.
But there are more people not than are. And I think like maybe it's the media that we consume, because the movies that I grew up with watching with people my age, everyone was trying to get laid, right? It was all these like big summer blockbusters of kids trying to lose their virginity. But then like now it's these shows where they're supposed to be 17, but they dress like 40-year-olds and they have trust funds and scares. So it's just a very different landscape there. But I just expected them to be older and have been jaded.
No. This is so Jordan Peterson had an opportunity the other day to actually tackle this, because he was specifically asked the question at one of his talks, and he just did the weakest, just lamest cop-out answer I've just ever heard him do. And it's like, you and Andrew Tate are speaking to the same group of people, and one of you is trying to say, have personal responsibility, your situation you've created, even if stuff's happened to you to put you there, but you have the power to get yourself to leave it behind and become a better man. Find a woman that fits with you and settle down with her and dedicate your life to her. That's what Jordan Peterson's saying. And then Andrew Tate's like, yeah, fuck these bitches, shag them all and leave them. And it's like, people think that they're saying the same things when they're not. And Jordan Peterson needs to point this out, because Andrew Tate is getting these kids young. Like, we found that during the pandemic, like, teachers just they're so far removed from the experiences of the kids that they're teaching. They had no idea who Andrew Tate was. Like, generally speaking, these teachers didn't know who he was, what he was about, and just how much he'd infected the minds of these young boys who were like 12 and up.
I was surprised as well. Like, after he got arrested the first time, there were kids, like 14, 15-year-old boys in Greece protesting on the streets. And it's
1,000
like,
of them.
And that's ridiculous. And they still, even now with his recent charges, people still aren't getting it. But I mean, it takes a special type of cognitive dissonance to hear Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate.
I think they're the same message.
This, like that's a whole lot of weirdness. But it's interesting that you talk about the teachers, because we have actually there's a video clip of this kid in high school who's telling his teacher, like, it's my classroom, I'm the alpha, and the teacher's like, yeah, good luck with that. If you want to watch it, we've got it in a folder. I'm
the alpha here.
It's exactly what he says.
He's like, you're fucking 15. Like,
oh, sir, there you go with the lighting. Good on you. It's much better. It's much, much better. You don't look like a shady creeper lurking in the dark shadows.
Oh, that's the look I was going for. Oh, if I looked like that was perfect.
Modern day Jack the Ripper, is that where you...
Yeah. The Zoom Ripper. It's so depressing. Like, these young boys, their lives are getting fucking ruined.
And it's unfortunate, because of the age that like Andrew Tate gets them. If he's getting them at like 13, 14, he's getting them at such a vulnerable age that if they don't learn then how to communicate with women and communicate their own feelings and kind of come to terms with some of the feelings that they're having, they're never going to be able to. And then they're going to be the same kind of men who later on refuse to go to therapy and
exactly
blame some weird thing that happened instead of them doing it to themselves, because they've got, I don't know, I guess if they're surrounding themselves with other guys who are thinking the same way, you've got that little echo chamber. And then this rich guy on the internet who's making it look easy.
Yeah.
Those bitches.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this. This punishment stuff is going to stop.
You're not going to tell me what I'm going to do.
I am now the alpha.
Bro. That's not how this works. I am the teacher.
The alpha takes priority over the teacher. The alpha takes priority over everything. Do you not know how that works?
The teacher is telling the alpha to sit in this seat right now.
And the alpha doesn't have to listen to orders from its lower.
Well, you don't have to listen, but the consequences that follow, are going to still apply to the alpha.
The alpha doesn't take punishment.
Let's see how well that works out for him, okay?
I think that kid's autistic.
But even if he's autistic, he's still in front of a classroom telling his teacher he's the alpha. Like, I'm in control of this classroom.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, young autistic boys, they're the ones that are most vulnerable to the rhetoric of people like Andrew Tate. So, like, we're either like super conformist and naive, and it's easy to rope us in, or we just won't attach ourselves to any groups because we're super suspicious and don't understand stuff. So, like, that might be like, you can see I'm quite an anti-authority person, and I don't give people authority just because they have a title or a label. But the other thing is that we do get roped into cults.
But then why, like, what's the allure of that one? Because there's lots of things, lots of influences that would have been coming at this kid. What is it about an Andrew Tate? Is it because he's this rich guy who was surrounded by women and on a boat smoking a cigar? Like, is that the allure of him that gets these kids to pay attention and then get roped in?
I think it depends on the kid. I'm basing this on a 45-second clip, okay? And then what makes me think he's autistic, and again, this isn't a diagnosis, this is just a hunch. It's based on his body movement, his cadence when he's speaking, the structure of his sentences, and just the way that you can see how his brain operates with how he's saying and what he's saying. So me,
interesting, because I thought, because it sounded like he had either a lisp or a bit of a speech impediment.
speech impediment.
So I kind of thought that was what was lending to the cadence of his speech.
You gotta, I don't think so. I think it's when you put everything together, like it was a bit more than, like, the lisp was just part of it. And then judging on the attitude of the way that the other people in the class were treating him and the way they were laughing at him, I wouldn't be surprised if, and again, I'm super assuming here, that he's looked to someone like Andrew Tate so he doesn't get picked on. So, like, if he starts acting like an alpha, he thinks, like, okay, so if I start acting this way, I will be a big man and I'll be able to protect myself like Andrew Tate protects himself. And all that sort of stuff. So you would see, like, something like this ultra masculinity of like what Andrew Tate's kind of pushing out there. There's a lot of independence and self-sufficiency in it, and it's so that you can't get hurt. You're just like this brick wall, and nothing's going to go.
So
through
it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I think I might mean it in a different way. I think no, because defense mechanism in psychology means something really specific. Okay. But I think in layman's terms, it's like he's defending himself. And I'm not supporting what the kid's doing at all. I'm not saying that. I'm not supporting his point of view, because I know some people get hung up on that. I'm just explaining why he's there, like why he's doing this.
What are your thoughts on the teacher? Like, the teacher didn't even...
Like, the teacher dealt with it well.
Because he was just so casual, like, okay, this is the teacher telling the alpha. Like you could tell this is not the teacher's first rodeo with this kid.
Yeah, exactly. And
or kids like him.
I think maybe it's a special class or a special school or something. But that teacher sounded like he knew how to deal with autistic kids. Like, the way he was just so calm, unthreatening, and just like his voice was quite soft and calming. And it was just like, I have all the time in the world for you, kids. Just, I'm not going to ostracize you just because you're acting like a muppet and acting like Andrew Tate. We're gonna teach this out of you. And so I rate how the teacher dealt with it. It was really good, because how many times
they do teach them, like you said, I'll teach you out of it, and I hope that is the case, but I highly doubt it. Like, kids get through high school not learning how to read because they could fake it really well and they slip through the cracks. Like, it'd be so easy for this kid to just slip through the cracks.
Well, what I found was quite good about the way the teacher dealt with it is because, assuming if this kid is autistic, his life is going to be full of awkward interactions and arguments, and especially at that age, and it's going to be really difficult for him, which pushes him into these weird cults like Andrew Tate. That's how they get, like, even if you're not autistic, that's how young people get pulled into them, is because of the way that people react to them in society, and then it can further ostracize you. And so that teacher is basically like, I'm not rejecting you. I'm just putting you in your place as the student. You need to go sit down. But what we've seen in other examples on the internet is as if it was a more emotional teacher, they might have stood up and started shouting at the kid and berating him and then causing the kid to further tunnel down this incel pipeline sort of thing, you know, and further do that. But like this was quite caring and assertive in a way that like, look, you're not going to get away with doing this. This is wrong, but I'm not going to rip you a new one just because you're falling into this cult.
And he also didn't address the whole, like, you're not an alpha. He's just kind of like, yeah, cool. But the alpha still needs to sit down.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to
Exactly.
dissuade him of the notion of that. Just kind of
Yeah.
like, let's deal with that maybe another day.
And then when you're dealing with people with mental health difficulties, it is like, you have to pick your battles to fight, okay? So this is something that I noticed on TikTok a lot in comments and video replies and stuff, is that people get super hung up on entirely the wrong thing. So like they would start arguing with the kid about whether he's an alpha or not. And it's like, that's not relevant right now.
That's not a conversation to be had in front of the entire class.
Yeah.
Because that's just
Exactly.
gonna just get him to dig his heels in deeper.
Exactly.
It's like we see it in the comment sections, like especially, I mean, not to shit talk your gender, but especially men.
Yeah.
Where if instead of being, for the most part, my experience has been, instead of being able to say like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it that way, they just kind of double down and dig in even deeper. And you've had it too, like where you've actually shown people facts. Like, no, Dostoevsky did not say this thing, and they're still like, no, yeah, he totally did. He totally
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's from this entire thing. Oh man. And then I did a comment the other day because I did a few videos about Pride and stuff, and then this. Oh no, it was before Pride. No, before that, I was talking about the women getting conscripted. That was it. And this guy, he comments like once every month or so, but like he was talking about stuff that was nothing to do with the video. Like I'm just talking about like the douchebag on that podcast came up with the premise that women never get conscripted. They never have done and never will do. And then so I came up with facts and evidence to show that they do. And then this bloke starts talking about something entirely unrelated, about how like when men try to talk about our things, we just get laughed at and like we get ignored
That's a
and
big
belittled.
defense mechanism. Like I've noticed that as soon as you come back with like, here are the facts, it's like no one ever listens to us. So it's like, yeah, but there's facts. Like
yes, this is just the way it is.
Exactly. Or there's like, there's a lot of double standards of it. Like I think some guy had posted on Reddit, oh, I forget what it was, but it was something about like, look, women do this. Or an article about a woman who left her husband when he got cancer. He was slowly dying for 5 years. It was having a terrible effect on her mental health. So she divorced him. And people were like, yeah, that's kind of shitty. But then all the guys in the subreddit were just like pouncing on women this and women that. And this is why men and blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of like, yeah, but men do this more often. Like if you really want to lay some blame here, let's lay it at the feet of both of these sexes, because men do it with much more frequency than women do it. So why are you here saying like men need to step up for their partners? And it was just like, you man-hating feminists, get out of here.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Okay. And like it's, I just wonder, why is everything got to be a fucking fight all the time? Like, why is it just, you feel like you're just constantly going uphill? It's like Sisyphus.
And you can't even like, it's even if you're trying to have a rational conversation, I think because of the subreddit, in this case that you're in, they just assume that it's a fight. Because like there was a couple of men who were complaining about Pride Month and like, how come it's Pride Month, but it's also Men's Mental Health Month and no one's talking about that. So I was like, well, what are you doing to talk about it? Because you have to raise awareness for your own issues. No one else is going to do that for you. No straight people didn't come in and be like, you know what we need?
Yeah.
We need a Pride Month. We need to, right? Like if for every group who has established this month of awareness or whatever, they themselves in that group had to fight to get to that point. But there's all these men in the group like, no one's talking about Pride with her like mental health month. Then do something, sir. What are you doing? Yeah. And then once again, I was called a man-hating feminist.
Yeah, because it's like, well, you know, you got to do it for yourself. Even Andrew Tate says that. Like,
And aside from that, like you can celebrate two things at once, right? Like you can celebrate Pride and you can celebrate Men's Mental Health Month, or one or the other. Dealer's choice, right? Like if you're a gay man with mental health issues, like Yahtzee, you got the month to end all months. But they're just so like, what about? It's all about the what about? What about men? This whole month, what about men? Yeah, but then you've also got June is Men's Mental Health Month. November is Men's Health Awareness Month. So do the thing, sir. You want to raise awareness, do the thing.
With like, oh, we have like International Women's Day. Where's International Men's Day? And it's like, oh, right here, here's the date. Why don't you celebrate it when it comes around? Oh yeah,
you know what my favorite thing was?
Yeah,
there were a bunch of people tweeting and putting out there about like, how come gays get a whole month, but our veterans only get a weekend? It's like, actually, May. The entire month of May in the United States is like Veterans, whatever, Awareness Month or Appreciation Month or whatever. They have a whole month. They don't even know that this month exists, but they're just kind of something you can easily Google. I mean, like if you're going to be spouting shit online, at least take a moment to Google it first to make sure you're not totally wrong.
And even though like there's occasionally someone will have a point about something, but then most of it is because they just don't like weird people, and then they see gay people as weird people. They see them as another group of sexual deviants and perverts, and then they have to come up with all of these weird mental gymnastics to make it okay to dislike this entire group of people.
But then like just the comparison of it, like why do we have Pride Month if we don't have Veterans Month? Which they do, they're just not aware of that. But if there wasn't one, then what an opportunity to say, you know what,
let's
we're
get
veterans.
one.
Yeah, like, let's work to make that happen.
But
like,
they just want to moan about it.
Exactly. They don't want to make the effort. Because even one of the guys in that other subreddit where I was talking about, like, if you want, like, the LGBTQ plus community had to fight to make Pride Month happen. Women had to fight to make Women's Month happen. It wasn't a bunch of white guys who decided on Black History Month. Like, everyone had to make it happen. So what are you doing? And they're like, one guy was just like, well, I'm not an activist. That's not my thing. But you're complaining. You're complaining a lot about it, but then not doing anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. They want a backseat protest.
Who doesn't? It's easier.
Yeah.
And then you can virtue signal. I'm going to change my icon to something relevant for the month, and then
yeah. And the other thing is that frustrates me anyway is that because there are a lot of issues going on at the moment that are really worth talking about, they need airtime. But because of all the douchebags doing it for bad reasons, it makes it difficult for someone like me to talk about it. You know, like I've got to put in,
please.
I did a TikTok the other day, and it was specifically related to kink at Pride. And I was talking about how kink isn't suitable for children because kink is sexual. And kink is always sexual. If you don't think kink is sexual, then you need another word for whatever it is you're doing, and it's not kink. Kink is fetish. So and then so I was just talking about that, and then somebody commented on there that, well, what does this have to do with Pride? Like I don't see the connection. And I was like, well, because the clip that I was talking about was somebody talking about Pride, and they said that kink is okay for kids, and kink and children can coexist. And I was like, absolutely no, unequivocally not. And then I was talking about how like there's displays of kink at Pride, and so and I was talking to the parents, like maybe you just need to rethink about taking your kids to these events because they're clearly adult themed. And then but because of all of the shenanigans going on, particularly from Christian right-wing news outlets being anti-Pride and all this stuff about taking the flags down and anti-celebration, why don't we have straight Pride and all that? Because of all that nonsense, people are automatically defensive because I'm talking about that. They're like, oh, is this like another straight guy talking anti-Pride? And then so I had to do another video sort of explaining it, saying, no, this isn't anti-Pride. I mean, you know, to explain about like being fully supportive of it. I think it's a great thing to do, etc., etc. I'm just talking to the parents and saying like, look, as your children get older, and they find out what kink is, because they won't necessarily know what it is that they saw when they were younger, like with the chains and the leather and the dog masks and all that. But when they're older and they find out what it was that you exposed them to, you won't know what their value system is, and you won't know what they're into sexually or anything like that, and you could really fuck your children up. So you shouldn't necessarily, you could take them to pride events, but not necessarily the ones where guys are going to be running around with their slaves thing. What do they call them? The BDSM thing, when they have like I've forgotten the word for it.
Is it a gimp?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you testing me to see if that's my kink?
Yeah. What'd you get your husband to do at the weekend?
I think it's an interesting thing, because a lot of people, people who've never been exposed to pride or aren't supportive of pride immediately think of it as a sexual thing, where for the majority of it, it's not. And that's where like people are like, oh, drag queens can't reach children because drag is sexual, but it's not. Like it reminded me of a TikTok that I saw from one of someone that I follow, who made a really good point that drag is like movies. You wouldn't take your kids to see The Exorcist, but you would take them to see Shrek. So you can have drag queens read to your kids, but don't take them to an adults only drag show. Like there's levels of that. And I've been to several drag shows, and nothing, there was one performer that was a little bit awkward. They came out with a terrible wig, a t-shirt that said "Nice People Swallow," wearing tidy whities and a yellow feather and a purple feather. And then they just stood there until Eminem's "Lose Yourself" started, and then they just started terribly tap dancing. At the end of the song, walked off the stage. That was the act. It was fucking fantastic. But it was the only show, the only performer in that entire evening that I would have been like, yeah, I wouldn't want my niece here with me right now, because the rest came out in beautiful outfits, lip syncing and dancing in an all ages kind of way. So I think these people need to go to one of these shows to actually experience it and see what it's like.
Yeah.
Before they pass any judgment on it. Yeah. And I mean, it's like the people who were freaking out in Target. If you don't want to buy your kid a rainbow shirt, don't buy your kid a rainbow shirt. That was
ridiculous, that Target thing. But like,
but if I want to buy my kid that shirt, that's up to me. I don't vote with your dollars.
Yeah. Not with your anger. And then what I found though is that there's also a denial that this kink stuff happens, or that kink is sexual. That stuff kind of concerns me a bit. Like there was a few people that deny flatly that any kink is displayed at a pride parade.
But we can see it. Like we've seen the pictures of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's photographs of it. I saw a photograph of like a 5-year-old girl standing beside a man in a full leather suit on his hands and knees being led on a leash. Right. Like there's definitely displays of that there. Some of the pride activities would definitely be more family friendly than others, but you need to know what you're exposing your children to.
And what I find interesting though is that those people who don't see kink as a problem for children, they're the most vocal and the most defensive.
I wonder here's where, because let me try to formulate my thoughts. Sometimes I think it's not someone who is like, yeah, kink is okay. I think it's somebody who is so blinded by the larger movement that they feel like whatever that movement or people within that movement do is okay. It's like when the that trans school shooter, people were excusing because they were trans, and it's like, but that doesn't.
Still a school shooter.
Yeah, still a school shooter. It doesn't matter that they're trans and they've been through some shit. Everybody's gone through some shit. They've gone through some more shit than other people, but it still doesn't excuse it. So I think some people just kind of excuse. You got to draw the line. There's good and bad people in every community, so that doesn't mean just because they identify as a certain way, they are intrinsically without any fault.
I tell you what, I have actually been quite surprised about. Like, as I've been kind of posting more about this stuff in relation to psychology. And I've been concerned about talking about a whole number of topics since I've been on TikTok. And what has surprised me, because of the way that the media manipulate us, more people agree with me than I thought they did.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've particularly with my pride ones, I had a lot more support from the LGBT community with what I was saying. and there was a whole range of opinions from the whole community. So I was quite surprised by that, and I shouldn't have been, because I should have known. But it's because the way that the media talk about the whole problem, they present the LGBTQ people as all one amorphous blob. They're all radical leftists that want to operate on your children. Yeah, and there's like a hive mind, and they're like very left wing. They're all communists and all that stuff. And it's like, it just isn't fucking true. And like, they only ever show videos. It's so manipulative. They only ever show videos of someone who is clearly in a bad place, overreacting to something.
Mm-hmm.
And then that becomes the image of trans people, or the image of a lesbian or a gay man or whatever.
Well, I mean, even we talked a little while ago about shows like The Real World and The Bachelor, or the Big Brother and stuff. And like, every personality has to be so extra to be able to cut through all of the other, like, no one wants to see some like boring normal person in a house with 7 other boring normal people. They want to see the drama. People thrive on that shit. So it's easy when you create a villain of a group that you don't really know a lot about, you haven't been exposed a lot to, you don't go out of your way to learn anything about. So then you see one, negative depiction of it, and then that becomes your entire thing.
And the crazy thing is that, like, I've been exposed to all that my whole life. I mean, one of my friends like heads up like the pride events in her city and stuff, and so like I've had a lot of exposure to it. But I think that everything got so crazy for about 5 years there that, like, I think we've all lost touch with what reality is. The way that people actually think. And then as I'm kind of breaking more into TikTok, I swear I'm shadow banned somehow, but like, because my content's kind of plateaued in a really weird way.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
And there's a lot of people online complaining about it.
Yeah,
that there's something going on with the algorithm that is just not. I mean, I've got 475,000 followers. Even if just 1% of my followers see my videos, I should be getting 4,700 views, right?
Yeah.
And that's not happening.
It's so weird. Yeah, I don't. I wish they were open with what's going on, particularly because I talk about really dark, difficult topics, and usually that is the stuff that they shadow ban. Like Instagram acts like they censored a whole bunch of hashtags, including things like Save Our Kids and Parents Against Pedos or something like that. There was like a whole like 20 hashtags like that was about protecting children, and they wouldn't let anybody use them.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And there's a whole there's pedophile rings all over Instagram apparently. Like, it's been broken in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's like it's a like just a hive of pedo activity.
I'm so, it skeeves me out humongously when people put their children online. And even if it's like an innocent, like to you it's innocent, but so this guy posted a picture of his wife is an artist. He posted a picture of a painting she did, and she's standing beside the painting. 3 people commented on her bare feet. So, and that
I'm not saying you need to own as many pairs of glasses as I do, but I'm also not saying you need to own as many pairs of glasses as I do. Look at the selection of these frames. They are amazing. Head over to GVizzle at the end of this episode, not now. Head over to GVizzle. There is a link and promo code in the description of this video. Promo code GVizzle15 will save you 11% on orders over $50 and 15% on orders over $100. And just come on. Look how beautiful these frames are. I just can't get enough of them. Zlul.com.
Motherfuckers. What was I even fucking saying?
the Sanders video about a woman talking about men who'll fuck anything.
Yeah. So I saw on TikTok there was this it came across a bit misandrist anyway. But it's about like how if there's a crease or something that's a warm little place or whatever, a man will try to put his dick in it to fuck it. And it's like, there's an element of truth, I guess. But hashtag not all men.
Sure. There is an entire subreddit called "Don't Put Your Dick in That," and it is just men posting pictures of things that look like, "Oh, I should put my dick in that."
Yeah, totally. And then maybe you should. Who am I to judge? And
Everybody's got their thing.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone.
But women as well. Women stick loads of things up their coochies and
Women
rub
have
stuff on it.
there's quite a variety of toys and objects that will fit the bill. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Although I recently joined the subreddit called Radiology, because people were posting like really cool like X-rays of stuff. And like the first, I don't know why I got interested in it, but like I think the first one was like a broken spine, and I was like, that is fascinating. So yeah, I was fascinated by it. But the number of men getting X-rays and their story is like, I lost a bet. And it's like, so the zucchini had to be removed surgically. So the can of Barbasol had to be removed surgically. So like,
Jesus Christ. I'm trying to find, because I want to tell the listeners about this one Reddit, because you just reminded me. Yeah, Reddit, I Have Sex. I think everyone should check it out because it is fucking hilarious.
Yes, there are so many that they just tickle me to pieces. Just tickle to pieces. I Have Sex is a good one. Confidently Incorrect. You would fucking love that one. You would love it. There's often on that one, people will post like the simplest math equation that if you remember, had math from school.
Yeah.
No problem. And then people will still try to explain it and be completely wrong about it. It's a delight. It is a delight.
Yeah, because there was that, well, we referenced it a bit earlier, and I had to laugh at the whole thing. There was a guy, so I was on TikTok, and then this guy had posted a quote from Dostoevsky, and it was about the tolerance would increase to the point that clever people won't speak for fear of offending the imbeciles or something. But we don't know who it's attributed to in reality. It's just anonymous. Like someone said it once. And then this guy just fucking doubled down on it. I was like, Dostoevsky didn't say that. I was like, and I even said, like, it kind of fits our current time. It's a good quote, but Dostoevsky just didn't say it. And he was like, oh, well, who fact checks the fact checkers? Like, he said that. I was like, what? I was like, he either fucking said it or he didn't. And he was like, where's the evidence? I can't prove a negative. Give me the page number on the book where he said it. Oh, wait, you can't. And then he was like, just like, had to go at me for being bitchy.
Of course. But he's a flat earther.
Yeah. I was like,
anybody can say anything. Anybody can say it. Like, there's a quote that has often been attributed to Bill Murray, and it's about dogs. It's like, I think it's something like, I don't trust a person who doesn't like dogs, but I always trust a dog when it doesn't like a person. And it has been widely attributed to Bill Murray, but I wanted to, did he actually say this thing? No, nobody knows who said it. It was just a thing somebody said. And then they're like, that sounds like a Bill Murray thing. So now Bill Murray said it.
Yeah, I think Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates, they always get falsely attributed for a whole bunch of shit.
I mean, good for them. If only there were royalties that could be paid.
Yeah. Maybe the nation of Greece should get royalties.
I was quoted once on Reddit.
Oh.
Yeah. I stumbled upon, there's a subreddit, I think it's called Not Like Other Girls. I think that's the one I found it in. And as I was scrolling through the comments, it was shortly after I made that video about the guy who thought that women's vaginas were too close to their anuses. And at the end of the video, I said, you can't spell incel without nice. And then someone commented, GVizzle says, you can't spell incel without nice. And I was just like, oh my God, look at me. I'm being quoted now.
You are. Quaff the GVizzle. No one else will care about this unless there's any other academics listening. That
was the most pompous thing you could possibly
I know, that's what I said it deliberately.
Jesus Christ, where's your ascot and top hat?
That's why I said it.
Sure it is.
I actually in one of my final year exams, I referenced an article that I'd co-authored in my argument. It was great.
Well, that Beetlejuicing.
What's that?
It's kind of, doesn't really apply, but it's kind of like when I don't know, it's hard to explain. There's a subreddit for it. Usually it's like if someone says something. So let's say your username is banana fucker, and then someone will make a comment about fucking bananas, and then banana fucker will make a comment and be like, hey yo, I'm right.
Well, no, it's because it like to actually get published research that you worked on before you've even finished your degree. That's quite a big thing. And so I was like, I've totally got to fucking do this. I know.
Golf clap for you, sir. Golf clap.
It was more satisfying than getting my actual degree.
I watched my niece graduate from university last
you
week.
said
They
you-
live streamed it.
Did you find out what her degree was?
Not really. No, she's got a bachelor of something
Yeah,
with
that's
high
what they
distinction. With high distinction. I think it's like I don't know. She's taking her LSAT, which is I don't know what LSAT stands for, but it's like the test you have
The
to
one for
take to get
doctors.
into law school.
Oh,
So
they
she's
do have
taking
three
that-
out of those big ones.
Yeah, she's taking that in August. But so they had like the time frame was like a 2:30 to 4 o'clock time slot that I could. They were live streaming it, so I thought like this is amazing. It's only an hour and a half. Her last name starts later on in the alphabet, so I'm like, I'll pop in around 3:30. I can miss all the nonsense and just watch her get her thing. And I thought it was just an hour and a half long thing. She didn't get like past the stage until like 5 minutes to 4, but she had to be there at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Fucking boring.
Oh, she didn't even want to go. She had spent 6 weeks in Europe. She only came back because like her mom really wanted her to be at her, like she came back for her mom. So her mom could see her walk across the stage and get a diploma, but she didn't want to go. And then she got stuck there for 8 hours.
So boring. But my my mortarboard didn't even fit my head. My head's too big.
I just watched all the kids' shoes as they were walking by because they're all wearing their cap and gown. So I'm like, oh, what are you wearing? Oh, you can't walk in those shoes. Oh, those
I didn't bother going to my master's graduation because it was in London and I couldn't be bothered to go all the way out there just to fucking walk across the stage. And
How far is London from you?
well, back then, actually no, I was living up north by then. So yeah, it's about a 3-hour train ride.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. And that's a lot of money as well. I mean, transport over here is fucking expensive, and it's only getting worse. But yeah, in Canada, do they get somebody like either a top professor or like somebody kind of famous to shake your hand when you get the degree?
I didn't see that part. The camera only showed, so I could see her standing off in the wings. She kind of like stops, waves, walked off. So I didn't see her actually get her diploma. That happened.
Oh,
I know. It was
that's
kind
the
of
money
like,
shot.
I know. It felt a little like anticlimactic because I was expecting to see the like handing over of the diploma, but no, all I saw her was just kind of like she walked up, said her name, she kept walking, and they did like your full birth certificate name, first, middle, last.
She could have just fucking sent you a WhatsApp message waving at the camera instead of you having to sit there for 2 hours.
Well, I mean, I only sat there for half an hour because I popped in at the end. And then I had it on because I have 3 computer screens while I'm working. So I had it on one screen and then I kept working away on the other screen until I started to hear the names that start with the letter of her last name. And then I perked up. like, oh, there she is. And then I went back to work.
That's it. All done.
That's it. That's it. I didn't have to sit there for 8 hours.
Yeah.
I saw her diploma. I could see it in her head. I think it's like a Bachelor of Arts something. I don't know. High distinction. I know she got that. She's a smarty pants.
So was it it was a full bachelor's, like a proper degree, not like one of those joke ones that you got?
No, it's a full proper degree. She's going back. She's doing her LSAT in August. She's studying for that now, and then she's going for.
Well, we do like a diploma stuff as well. We've got HNC and HND, so like a higher national certificate, higher national diploma.
We have lots of levels. Like if you go to college, you're getting a certificate or a diploma, depending on what the program is. If you go to university, it's usually a diploma, and then there's always like the higher levels of education. Because I know you don't have college and university where we have the 2.
Oh, we do have college, but it's just like it's more like it's the 16 to 18 education to get into uni, plus all the stuff that like your college does, like the certificates and diplomas.
Oh, okay. No, so
Yeah.
here, like when you usually graduate high school around 17, 18, depending on the month you were born. And then straight from there, you can go to college or university. You don't need one to
Okay.
get to the other. You can go straight. There used to be in Ontario, once upon a time, they called it grade 13. So if you wanted to go to university, you had to stay for another year of high school. And then they scrapped it for a while. Then they brought it back and they called it the Ontario Academic Credit, or OACs. And then they scrapped that after a while. And I don't know what the reason behind it was, but you had to stick around to do it. I mean, I know a bunch of my friends and I, we just decided to get our OACs just because we didn't want to get out into the real world. So we thought, like, let's stay in high school for another year. So we did.
And then, so how old do you have to do school until? Like, how long is it until? Fucking words. How old are you when it stops being mandatory?
That's an interesting question because you can legally quit school at 16. So yeah, 16, which is around the 10th grade. But if you were to take it all the way and graduate from high school, then you'd be looking at 17, 18.
Okay. Like, I can't remember if I told the story on the podcast, but I did quit school because one of my birthday is, and I was like, oh, I can just, I'm 16 before the end of the year, so I was like, I'll just quit school now because I thought you had to be at school until 16, and then you can just go out into the world and work. So I quit school, and I was out of school for about 4 weeks. I got a job and everything, and then I had to go back to school because the legislation was clarified, and it actually said that you have to stay at school until the summer after you're 16.
Interesting. So if you were to turn 16 in like October, you still have to stick at the school year.
Exactly.
I don't remember what the rules are here, but I know like 16 you can, I don't know if it's like the day you turn 16 or I don't know.
I suspect it'll be the same.
I enjoyed high school quite a bit, so I didn't want to leave. I would have stayed. If there was a grade 14, I would have gone back for it. I was having the time of my life. Like, I know some people look back at high school and they're like, that was a terrible time. Like, I knew it then and I know it now. I was having the time of my life. It was so much fun.
I think for me, it was that there was a lot of stuff that I liked, but it was nothing to do with being at school.
Oh, yeah, agree. Like, the academics part of it was just a side gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's where I would go to hang out with my friends.
I would just get so bored at school. I remember, like, I had really bad insomnia. So I was sleeping like every other night, like literally every other night. And then so on the nights I didn't sleep, I was just really tired in class and I was just trying to stay awake. And then my form tutor asked if I was on drugs. He said some of the teachers have asked about you, like if you're on drugs or something.
That's nice that they showed concern.
Yeah.
So my friends and I, on our like lunch breaks, or we had spares and lunch breaks, we would usually like get stoned and wrestle. And I bruised pretty easily. So I would get to like, so in the like summer months, we were allowed to wear shorts because it was a uniform school, but we were allowed to wear shorts. So I was wearing shorts and one of my teachers pulled me aside and they were like, is everything okay at home? Because you got a lot of bruises on your legs. And I'm like, no, I'm just getting baked in wrestling. That's fine.
Yeah. What a random activity for getting baked to.
I don't know. It just happened one day. We would do that or we would play cards. There was a card game called Asshole. So we would play Asshole. We also did a lot of Red Rover. I don't know if you ever played Red Rover.
Yeah. But
So
not when I was 16.
Oh yeah, we would just we would get stoned and play Red Rover, wrestle.
Well, when I was at school, so most of my mates were in a different school, and one of them, she was off school all the time as well. Like we were both just delinquents and could be bothered to go, but like her mum would actually just let her not go to school. So I was just to go around her house, and then we'd watch the Kerrang music channel and just make out all day, and then go home.
There was like if I look back at high school, like one of my best friends in high school who was there every day when we were on spare. I learned like 2 years later, didn't even go to my school.
Yeah.
He just never went to his school. So he always hung out at our school. But I was like, how come I never have any classes with him? He doesn't go here.
Yeah, I did that as well. I used to spend some of my break times in the other school. And then the teacher would give me a weird look, like, I don't recognize that kid. And I'm just standing there in my Metallica hoodie. No, do you know the pop singer Lily Allen?
Yes.
Yeah, she was in my year.
Oh, he looks familiar. Yes, I know that.
Yeah, they're brother and sister. I think he was in the year below me, and she was in his sister Lily Allen. She was in my year.
Isn't their father someone famous?
Yeah.
Keith Allen.
Yeah, their stepfather is Harry Enfield, and then so when they were at my school, they were living with Harry Enfield.
I don't know who any of these people are.
Do you remember that clip I sent you about women know your limits?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Harry Enfield.
Oh, okay. There he is. I see him.
Anthony Minghella went there too.
You know, you're just making shit up. Lily Allen is married to, what's his face? David Harbour.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. He was on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And they did a skit. It was hilarious. It was like a dark Sesame Street where he played the Grouch, but it was kind of like around the same time I think the Joker came out. So it was like a Joker vibe to Oscar the Grouch. It was amazing.
Yeah, I find SNL so hit and miss, but more miss than hit. I just don't get on with it.
We've never stopped watching it. We keep watching it. We fast forward a lot of skits because some of them are just kind of like, this is not going anywhere. We really just kind of watch it for the weekend update.
Is that Michael Shea and that other guy? Do they do?
Yeah, Michael Shea and Colin Jost. And those two, I think they're probably some of my favorites because they will write jokes for each other and like sneak them in so they don't know they're there. So Colin Jost will like be reading a joke that Michael Shea wrote and it's like the most racist thing ever. And Michael's like, Colin. They're a very good pair to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the best part. There's been better casts and there's a couple of people in the current cast that they need to be breakout stars because they are amazing and don't get enough play, but the weekend update's where it's at.
I think for what I know about the behind the scenes stuff, like it's a really toxic political place to work. Like, and then that's why they never make much of their breakout stars. Like they never get the play that they should because of all of the backroom politics that goes on. And like people stealing skits and stuff.
Yeah. I can kind of see how that would be because you've got a limited amount of airtime and huge cast. And I think the smaller the cast is, the better the quality of the show is because it's tighter. Because now you've just got a bunch of people who are just trying to make it. And then unfortunately, some of them that are really talented won't get as much airplay as they should. And
then, I mean, they fucking had Shane Gillis and then he didn't even get to do an episode. He's one of the funniest comedians ever.
Was he on the cast?
Yeah, like he got hired, and then before he even filmed an episode, he got fired because he did a tweet years ago, or no, he was on a podcast and he made a joke about Asians, and then he basically makes this joke about how like the day that you weren't allowed to make jokes about Asians anymore, that was the day, and then his joke didn't get through, and then so he got cancelled.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I do remember hearing about that.
It just got.
But I mean, SNL's not really one to talk because they like. I think there's a Amazon Prime documentary called "You Can't Take a Joke Anymore" or something, and it's about a bunch of comedians talking about the culture of it. I think I told you about it, where they're being forced to apologize for things, and it's just like they're such empty, hollow apologies. Why were you going to force somebody to just so it makes you feel better? Like I don't want to be a back in my day person, but back in my day, if like someone said something that offended you, that was the end of it. You were offended and that was it. Because it was, if I offended you, you are offended. It doesn't necessarily mean what was said was offensive. It's just that's the way it landed for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you wouldn't force people to apologize. You just be like, that guy's a dick. And that would be the end of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think at some point you almost get too old for SNL because every single week, at least when they announced, here's the host, here's the musical guest, every single week without fail, on one of those two names, my husband and I will be like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. And then we'll like listen for the musical guest and be like, no, I don't know. Okay, fast forward. It's very rare that we know who the musical guest is.
I think what I liked about Bill Burr's monologue was that the point that he made was proven or supported by the Twitter community.
It actually kind of reminded me of that Prime show documentary, because there was one guy who in his university, he wrote a play that was intended to be the most offensive thing you've ever seen. They put it on the posters. This is going to be the most offensive play you've ever seen. The point of this play is to be offensive. You're gonna be offended, like everywhere. Even before some of the scenes, they would be like, this next one coming up is super fucking offensive. And people still went and protested it because it was offensive.
Oh my god. That would be like protest.
They told people to go, and every time they were offended to yell out, I'm offended, I'm offended. And then you could hear it in the audience. They were constantly like, I'm offended, I'm offended. And the guy who wrote the play was like, yeah, I know, that's the point.
Yeah, you're supposed to
the
be.
The entire point. Like, just sit in it, learn how to be offended, then learn how to articulate your own point so you can argue it effectively and in an efficient and economical way so that you can actually have conversations with people, unlike just I'm offended and then that's the end of that.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of university, is to come out of your comfort zone, to learn new things, to try new things, to learn how to think critically and articulate your points. But then, no.
Talking about having fun with your coursework and exams at uni, I opened up one of my essays with a quote from Goebbels.
Of course you did.
It was apt because I was making a dig at the British government. So,
are you sure it was Goebbels and it wasn't just attributed to him over the years? Because
no, I verified it. It was from Time magazine in the 30s.
But who fact checks the fact checkers?
Yeah.
Full circle.
The quote was, it is the absolute right of the state to supervise the formation of public opinion. So basically, the state is allowed to issue propaganda and fuck with your head, is basically what you were saying. And then, so my point of my essay was, it was like a really rudimentary basic analysis of the prime ministerial debates that we had back in 2010. And then I was just trying to show how, like, even though people think the parties are really similar, there is rhetoric and the way they construct their sentences that will show what their ideology actually is, because of the way that they conceive of reality. And then so like this quote with Goebbels was supposed to say, like, look, it's always good to hate Nazis, but watch out for your fucking government doing it to you too. And then Goebbels' quote is still apt today because the government still think that about us, just because they're not Nazis.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we've said this about Andrew Tate. Even a broken clock can be right twice a day. That, like, sometimes there's still nuggets of truth to what people are saying, even if the rest of what they say is garbage.
Well, I was arguing that it is not the right of the state to fuck with your head and issue propaganda to you. So
I agree with you that it's not, but the state does do it.
Yeah.
So maybe he was wrong in that saying it's the right of the state, because it's not, but they do. They sure do.
Isn't it weird? Like, I mean, it was probably a bit late in the podcast to go down this road, but isn't it weird, like, how comfortable some places are at the moment with just like casual racism or fascism or casual Nazism?
It's kind of frightening, actually, how,
isn't it?
Like, it's people just stop hiding that aspect of themselves, and they're just like, right out there, just for the world to see. Being my horrible, horrible people. Yeah. I mean, like, back in the day, people had the good grace to whisper shit.
Yeah, look over the shoulder.
Yeah, they were like, but now, no, they'll just yell it from the rooftop, wearing on t-shirts. People are like, wearing their hate-filled rhetoric all over themselves. But then, like you once said, I like my racists.
Yeah, where I can see them.
Where you can see them. It's more insidious if they hide it.
But there's a difference though in the way that it's happening now. Whereas like now it's kind of like they're emboldened to do it. Like some of the right-wing outlets on your side of the pond, they never understand European politics, okay? And I saw some of the right-wing independent news over there talking, over the States in Canada, talking in support of the Italian regime that they've got at the moment, just because they're right-wing and conservative. And it's like, no, they're fucking fascists. They're racists.
That's the thing of like glomming on to like, oh, they're right wing, I'm right wing, they're conservative, I'm conservative. We must all think the same thing. It's like,
exactly. It's like, no, they fucking don't. You do not want to be associated with this Italian party. I think they only got in power because people were so fucked up after the pandemic, psychologically, because Italy got hit so hard.
Does it feel like the last 3 years didn't happen?
Yeah, there's like a gap where I'll see like a movie was out in 2019. I'm like, that was 3 years ago. And I just feel like this is a big block of time that just didn't happen.
Yeah, it feels like I feel like I should start telling people I'm 45. Because
yeah. Yeah.
It's like we went from 2019 to 2023. It's like, what the fuck has happened in the past? Like, I don't even know what has happened in the past 4 years. It's a very bizarre.
Oh, I had a funny experience in the newsagent the other day. The person behind the counter thought I was a lot younger than I am. And I was like, I'm nearly 40. And she was like, fuck off, no way.
So my niece and I always hang out for the past like decade or so. On her birthday, I'll usually, whatever day it lands on, I'll take the day off work and we'll do like a brunch and shopping trip. We've been doing it since she was like 10. So it's probably been a dozen years. So now she turned 22. So after the end of our shopping trip, she was going to a party the next day. So she was like, oh, I got to stop at the liquor store. I'm like, oh, I go to the liquor store too. We'll go together. And then we're in line. And she was like, I bet they're going to card me. And I was like, bitch, you're 22. Of course
you're
they're going
to get carded. Yeah.
Of course you're going to fuck her. So she was like so butthurt about it. Like, they're going to card.
Last time I was carded, I think it was about 34 or 33.
I got carded about 5 years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. Thank you. I also got carded a couple of times during the pandemic, but I think that was because like the mask mandates, you couldn't see, like my eyes, they still have the sparkle of youth. You couldn't see all my old lady laugh lines and wrinkles.
See, that's how you, this is how you know that your husband's a good man, or at least you can live with him, okay? Because if you put the mask on, you've still got life in your eyes. You're not all jaded and beaten down.
I'm not cold shark eyes.
Yeah, not like my partner. Sick of living with me after 8 years.
I mean, I can't even, my eyes start to dull after hanging out with you for an hour.
Yeah.
Like that's NPC.
Yeah.
Guy and his girlfriend.
It was, on TikTok yesterday, this guy said, he said that like it looked like I was trying to please everybody with my videos and my comments, and I was trying to be really diplomatic. And then so I did a video reply because I showed it to my partner, and she laughed. And then I was just like, if you think I'm really overly agreeable, you need to ask my partner and my mate GVizzle, because I am not an agreeable guy.
No, you're a bit of a cunt, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I deleted the video because I was walking when I was doing it, so I was a bit out of breath and just kind of laughing as I was speaking, so I just deleted the video. But I was like, yeah, no, I was like, we get into it like every other month, because I'm such a stubborn cunt.
Yeah, but same though.
Yeah.
Same seats.
But it is like people just misunderstand, like, or misperceive it, that like if you're polite and you're kind to people and compassionate, that they think that you're easygoing and agreeable, when those things aren't related.
No, and it's kind of like someone, I think there's I forget, it's like don't mistake my politeness for pests. Yeah, something like that. And like it's funny because I remember someone who a couple of jobs ago, someone who was on my team, someone who reported to me, was like, we were sitting there one day and she turned to me and she said something like she really liked me and like we got along really well, and she goes, but there's something about you that I know I would never want to get you to be on your bad side, or like I would never want you angry with me. And I'm like, well, that's nice, thank you, because
that's what I was going for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be intimidating, but if that's how you feel, then stay on my good side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have had people actually, there was somebody who asked me if people didn't take me seriously because of my gregarious personality. And I was like, well, No, because when I need to be serious, I can be serious, and I usually know what I'm talking about when I talk about something.
Yeah.
In a professional setting, not just on a podcast where I'm spouting off nonsense, but in a professional setting, I know what I'm talking about.
That's a good place to fade to black, I think.
Have a good day, fuckface. I did it first.
Fuck off, fuckface, you fucking fuck.
Nope, I did it first. I'm gonna cut it off after.
Oh yeah, and I'm in control of editing, so
Fuck.
yeah. Unlucky.